my heart. Now you leave me out of my life, can't you see? Bring it back, don't take it away from me, because you don't know what it means to me.
I actually had this song, The Last Bohemian, and it didn't have a home, but I thought it was a really strong song, and I was delighted when David sort of took to it, and I think, you know, I must have just played it through on the piano and stuff, and I think it was one of the songs that planted the seed that there was something more here than just a series of songs. There was some kind of narrative thing to it. So the album started to have an identity. And then it promoted itself to be the title of the album. And then I think David's thing was, well, we better call it Last Bohemians plural, because we're both on the cover. I don't think you wanted to be the only Bohemian in town.
No.
So that's how it happened.
Of all the titles on the of all the titles of the set in the set, The Last Bohemians just leaps out as a great title to me. The minute I heard the title, I thought this, and you can call an album The Last Bohemian. And I think there's something very honest about it. You know, it honestly expresses who the two of us are. We're not trying to, you know, curry favor with the young people. It's like, you know, we know what we like, and we're making an album for now, based on, you know, our love of Art Pepper and Duke Ellington.
But David's got something particularly pure about the voice, and something about a British pop sensibility which is interesting. So it's much closer to where we are. David's versatile, because I've heard, you know, we got obviously, you know, McAlmont and Butler and the jazz stuff and the Michael Nyman stuff and all that, and that was interesting to me, that someone could take on all those things. It reminded me actually of the jazz singer Dee Dee Bridgewater, who I know, who once said, you know, unlike Miles Davis, I have to change, it's like a curse, you know, and David goes through these phases in his musical life. So all of this attracted me, and then, you know, what do you do when you're playing like that and someone's singing and it's sending chills down your spine? You want to work with that singer.
There are a couple of numbers on this record that I've wanted to do for the longest time. Love of My Life is one of them, and The Wild Ones by Suede is another, and Find the River by R.E.M. is another one. These are songs that I've loved from the minute I heard them and wanted to do a version of, and the situation never arose until now. The songs have brought something pretty potent out in my performance. There's nothing like singing the songs that you really love for bringing out the best in a voice. I don't know if anybody's covered Love of My Life by Queen, but I'm amazed that nobody has, because it's just so beautiful. And at the same time, you know, one doesn't really want to let Freddie down, or let Tom down, or let Michael Stipe down. It's like, okay, these guys have, like, you know, created this thing of great beauty. I need to do it credit. What is exceptional about that, though, is that I tend to cover songs by women, mostly. And this is remarkable, because all of the covers on here are by men.
I hadn't thought of that. Just on that thing about Sacred Ground, if you take the song and you take it somewhere else, that will annoy some people. But I think what I'm hoping is that to other people, they'll actually hear it with fresh ears. And there may be that moment, which is an interesting moment as a listener, when you think, I know this, no I don't, yes I do, oh that's what it is. You know, and that, if you can do that to people with something that's familiar, you've recreated the song for them. You know, and that can be a beautiful moment.
I had a couple of really emotional moments in the studio, just with this material, and I think I got a sense of the power then. With Love of My Life, with Find the River, and with The Wild Ones, I found myself feeling very moved. And that took me by surprise. You know, at points I could barely sing for choking up.
We both do projects with the Great American Songbook. We love those songs. That's the Old Testament of songwriting. But it was always implicit. And the funny thing is, I don't think we ever actually said it, but we just knew that this project would always be about new material. Some of mine, some co-writes, and some interesting covers that wouldn't normally be jazz or regarded as jazz. And there's a way to do that. You know, you have to think about the connections. And I always loved the song, well-known song by Radiohead from OK Computer, which is No Surprises. It's got a little lick in it. On the guitar, and I actually heard that and I thought, that reminds me of a Miles Davis ballad from the 50s where his piano player Red Garland played this.
They don't speak for us. I'll take quiet life, a handshake of carbon monoxide, and no alarms and no surprises, no alarms and no surprises, no alarms and no surprises, please.
This album, I would like it to satisfy jazz hounds who hear the great players we've got on the album improvising and swinging away, and I would like it to pop people and people who don't, maybe a bit scared of jazz, could listen to it because the songs are strong, the songs are melodic, and the energy of the album.
Tonight is the loneliest night you'll ever know. Waiting for daylight to show. The clocks tick so slow when you miss her so. Tonight you'll remember the things she would say. Song announces the day. You gamble she'd stay, and she blew your heart away. Play your song, think about her by and by. Won't be photograph and you just sigh.
R.E.M. and Queen and Suede and all that, their preoccupations in their music and lyrics is different from the Great American Songbook, and we might have done a smooth jazz arrangement of it, but there's something fresher in the song itself. And I think there's something else which is actually, although look, we're both men in our 50s and we're not trying to please 20-year-olds anymore, but the album, you know, it's like I can tell, even a classic bebop jazz album, I can tell you which decade it was recorded in. Something different about how they played in the 90s from how they played in the 50s, even when they're trying to do the same thing. It's partly a studio sound, but it's partly the way they actually played the notes. There is something today about this album, even though we're looking back. There's something about where we are now and about how music sounds now, and possibly in the sort of compression of ideas, so that it's a kind of you know, that thing about songs being short and there'll be a lot going on in a short space. That may be something that even unwittingly speaks to how people want to get a lot of information quickly these days. You know, I mean, it occurs to me literally as I'm saying it, but that might be something that's actually of today. So there's reasons why one hopes that it's sort of, you know, how can we get the golden mean, which is something that's got the classic sound and yet it isn't a nostalgia exercise, and that's a hard thing to pull off, but it would be nice if we have.